We have breaking news from the New York Times. The Times has just posted a new report that says when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she exclusively used a personal email account for all of her government business, and that might have violated federal rules. The Times reports that her aides did not preserve the emails on State Department servers as required by the Federal Records Act. The Times also reports that Hillary Clinton did not have a government email address during the 4 years that she was at the State Department. The email account was discovered by the House committee investigating the Benghazi attack, according to the Times report. Back with me is MSNBC's Beth Phui and Jeremy Peters of the New York Times. Jeremy, this is a rather startling development. We're just getting it from the Times now. It is not unusual for people in Hillary Clinton's position to have a personal email account, but according to everyone's understanding of it, it is only supposed to be used for government business in an emergency when, say, there was some problem in the State Department's servers and they couldn't use that email. What do you expect the reaction to be tomorrow on Capitol Hill about this?
Well, as you correctly point out, Steve, or Lawrence, it's not unusual for candidates, elected officials to have these personal email accounts. What is unusual is for them to conduct all of their business on these personal email accounts. Now, as a reporter who's filed public information requests for these types of correspondence before, you would typically see that not all business is being conducted in the open like it should be. Now, as my colleague Michael Schmidt, who's a really tenacious reporter and dug around a lot trying to figure this out, discovered, Hillary Clinton has opened herself up to, a really big question here, which is how forthcoming is she willing to be? And this is an issue that kind of dogged her when she ran in 2008, that she was trying to keep things from getting out into the public. And I think for anyone who thinks that we've seen all there is to see about Hillary Clinton, that all of her dirty laundry has been aired, they're realizing now that that's just not the case.
Beth, the Times report indicates that under federal law, the official emails of the Secretary of State are considered government records and are supposed to be retained so that congressional committees, historians, and members of the news media can find them. Also that John Kerry, for example, has always used nothing but State Department email as Secretary. And there's another expert in here saying that personal emails are not secure. Senior officials should not be using them. And this is not, a senior official at the Environmental Protection Agency or the Department of Agriculture. This is the Secretary of State using a not secure commercial email system.
Right, and as fabulous as the story is and incredible reporting by the New York Times, I just have to think there's something more going on here, because it raises so many questions. I mean, number one, where were the State Department lawyers who allowed this to go forward? Where were the people, top diplomats in other countries receiving these emails from, hrc@yahoo.com or something like that, saying, wait a minute, this can't possibly be an official missive from the Secretary of State of the United States. I mean, there's just so many questions that are unanswered about this. I mean, she is a very secretive person. There's no question about it, as Jeremy mentioned. And yet she understands rules and she understands protocol. And for her to just willingly violate it just to preserve some semblance of privacy just really makes no sense. I'm really looking forward. She's got a big speech tomorrow night at the Emily's List 30th anniversary dinner. She's going to have to address this there. And I'm really curious to see what she's going to have to say.
I suspect she will not have any real addressing of it in that location. Or Jeremy, the CIA director in Bill Clinton's administration, as I recall, got into very serious trouble by having some of his CIA information at a computer at home, but nothing like this, where in effect all of the electronic communication that she was issuing on email was sent out into basically through a private company to distribute. This is a stunning breach of security.
Right, and that's one of the things that my colleague Michael Schmidt raises in the story is, that we don't know if the email she was using, even though it was personal, was somehow encrypted. There are just so many unanswered questions right here, and I think that this story is going to continue to play out for a few more days.
Well, if it's true that she never used a State Department email address, we have something that at first read, has no conceivable rational explanation to it that is legitimate. I mean, Beth, what could it possibly be?
And you know what is the other sort of amazing thing about it is this was uncovered basically by the Benghazi Committee. And Democrats and opponents of the Benghazi Committee have been going on and on saying they're just wasting their time. All these questions have been answered. This is just political. This is just redundant. And yet we have an example of something very significant that was raised by this committee. So I think this emboldens Republicans to continue to sort of pry away at her and to see what else she's hiding.
Well, it's beyond that. The New York Times is on it. I mean, the media is going to be all over it. It doesn't matter what the Republicans do at this point. Beth Phui and Jeremy Peters, thank you both for joining.